In the annals of Bigfoot lore, tales of strange encounters and mysterious sightings abound, captivating the imaginations of believers and skeptics alike. Yet amidst the countless stories of fleeting glimpses and blurry photographs, one encounter stands out as particularly compelling. The story of a man who claims to have photographed a female Bigfoot with what appeared to be a baby on its back in a remote mountain wilderness area. The story begins with a man whose identity remains shrouded in anonymity, embarking on a solo expedition into the rugged and untamed wilderness of the mountains. The man called himself Mark, but added that this wasn't his real name, as he was concerned about privacy and safety and wanted to maintain anonymity. The man claimed to have come across a mysterious creature while trekking at Wonder Mountain Wilderness, which is a region that includes Wonder Mountain in the Olympic National Forest on the Olympic Peninsula of Washington, D.C. He was walking along a small mountain trail when all of a sudden he noticed a black mass in front of him. He added that he had seen them stand on two legs and that at first he had assumed the creature to be a black bear, noting how strangely humanoid they appeared when they did so. This phenomena of people confusing black bears for Bigfoot has happened all throughout the world, especially in areas where both animals are known to live. Despite the fact that Bigfoot and black bears are clearly distinct species, there are a number of elements that can cause confusion and result in false sightings and identifications. The physical similarities between black bears and Bigfoot, especially in low light or from a distance, are one of the main causes of confusion between the two species. It can be challenging to tell the two species apart, because they are both huge bipedal mammals with dark fur, especially in poorly lit or hidden areas like dense forests or heavy underbrush. But the man claimed that upon closer inspection, he was able to determine that this was unquestionably not a black bear. The man claimed that the creature in question was a female, and that it wasn't alone. Clinging to her back is what appears to be a small, juvenile Bigfoot, its fur matted and unkempt. The man said he couldn't believe what was happening, and quickly snapped a photograph with his camera, adding that it's blurry due to the fact the female Bigfoot was moving at the time the image was taken. As quickly as he sighted the creature, he said that the encounter was over almost as quickly as it began. The man observed the female Bigfoot and her young disappear back into the wilderness, saying that he was astounded by how disguised they both were, and that he would have never known they were there if he hadn't seen them. Interestingly, Bigfoot researchers have said that the dense vegetation and complex terrain of forest environments provide great opportunities for Bigfoot to conceal itself from sight, adding that thick underbrush, dense foliage, and rugged terrain can all provide natural cover and concealment for these large animals. In tests carried out by numerous Bigfoot researchers, participants were instructed to dress like Bigfoot and stand just a few meters away from the creatures in the forest. It is said that because of the dense undergrowth, it is nearly impossible to spot them, and because they are so well camouflaged against the forest's backdrop, you wouldn't even know they were there. The man said that the photographs were captured back in 2016 and added that due to the clarity and detail of the image, you can make out various details. As with many of these encounters, it would go on to capture the attention of Bigfoot enthusiasts, researchers, and skeptics alike. The photographs were analyzed by experts in the field, who said that there's no denying that this creature is a Bigfoot, adding that it can't get mistaken for a bear. For believers, it is photographs like this that represent a long-awaited breakthrough in the search for definitive proof of Bigfoot's existence. The clarity and detail of the images, combined with the corroborating testimony of the man, lend credibility to the possibility that these elusive creatures may indeed roam the remote wilderness areas of the world. Skeptics, on the other hand, remain unconvinced by these types of photographs, citing the lack of independent verification and the possibility of hoax or misidentification. Interestingly, this isn't the first time that someone has claimed to have encountered a female Bigfoot. Hikers who report encountering female Bigfoot often describe the experience as both awe-inspiring and unnerving. The sight of a large bipedal creature with dark fur or hair, humanoid features, and a distinctly feminine appearance can be a profoundly surreal and unsettling experience, leaving a lasting impression on those who witness it. One of the most striking aspects of encounters with female Bigfoot is the creature's size and physical presence. Female Bigfoot are often described as being similar in size and stature to adult Bigfoot males, with a height ranging from 6 to 8 feet tall and a robust, muscular build. Their dark fur or hair is typically described as being thick and unkempt, with a matted appearance that blends seamlessly into the surrounding wilderness environment. In addition to their physical appearance, female Bigfoot are often reported to exhibit behaviors that are both curious and cautious. Some hikers claim to have observed female Bigfoot watching them from a distance, displaying a mixture of curiosity and wariness as they observe the human intruders in their territory. Others report encounters in which female Bigfoot are seen foraging for food, caring for young, or engaging in social interactions with other members of their species. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of encounters with female Bigfoot is the possibility of observing maternal behavior. While the details of Bigfoot's social structure and family dynamics remain largely speculative, some hikers claim to have witnessed female Bigfoot caring for young offspring, leading to speculation about the creature's biology and family life. These accounts offer tantalizing hints about the elusive creature's behavior and social structure, shedding light on the mysteries of Bigfoot's existence. Despite the compelling nature of these accounts, skeptics and critics remain skeptical of the idea of encountering female Bigfoot in the wilderness. They argue that the lack of concrete evidence, such as clear photographs, videos, or physical remains, makes it difficult to verify the authenticity of these claims. Furthermore, they point to the prevalence of hoaxes, misidentifications, and exaggerations in Bigfoot lore as reasons to approach such accounts with caution and skepticism. However, for those who have had first-hand encounters with female Bigfoot in the wilderness, the experience is often deeply profound and transformative. Whether the encounters are fleeting glimpses from a distance or up-close encounters with the creature in its natural habitat, they leave a lasting impression on those who witness them, sparking a sense of wonder, curiosity, and reverence for the mysteries of the natural world. The mystery of the Murphysboro mud monster. The Murphysboro mud monster is believed to be a large humanoid bipedal ape-like creature, similar to modern-day sightings of the North American Sasquatch. Witness descriptions of the creature claim it to have been completely white-furred in color and appearing similar in design to an oversized gorilla with splotches of mud matting its fur. The first sightings of the Murphysboro mud monster were recorded in the summer of 1973 and would be spotted by several dozen independent eyewitnesses up until the modern day, where sightings still continue. The primary location of reported sightings of the Murphysboro mud monster is along the banks of the Big Muddy River, located near the small town of Murphysboro, Illinois. Witness accounts detail that the head of the creature appeared spade-shaped, similar to reports of the Flatwoods monster. The texture of the monster's fur was also described as being similar in likeness to the shaggy fur of an English sheepdog. In several reports describing the Murphysboro mud monster, the creature was claimed to have glowing red eyes similar to the brightness of a distant streetlight. In other reports, the creature is claimed to have no visible face, as it appears to have been completely covered in the white fur. On the 25th of June, back in 1973, within the small town of Murphysboro, Illinois, a couple would claim to come face-to-face with a massive bipedal humanoid creature, later referred to as the Murphysboro mud monster. According to the young couple, their encounter happened sometime around midnight while they had been parked at the side of a river. The couple, a young man and young woman by the names of Randy Needham and Judy Johnson, claimed that they decided to stop their car at the end of 23rd Street, located in Riverside Park, in an area that gave them a clear view of the surface of the Big Muddy River. The reason for their late-night isolation was later explained by the couple as being a necessary precaution, as Judy's father had disapproved of the two dating and so were unable to find a more public location to hang out. Although the exact time of the sighting is unknown, it is believed that the event occurred sometime between 12 and 1 in the morning, as the couple were listening to the radio. As Judy Johnson and Randy Needham were in the middle of their interaction, the couple claimed to have heard what they described as a piercing roar, later detailed by Randy Needham as sounding somewhat similar to an eagle shrieking into a feedback microphone. The source of the sound appeared to have emanated from a nearby brush that rested only a few yards away from the vehicle, near the side of the Big Muddy River. Scared that a large, dangerous wild animal was nearby, Randy Needham shut off the car radio, while he and Judy Johnson glanced around the immediate area, looking for any signs of a creature. A few seconds later, the couple claimed that another loud shriek had been heard that was slightly similar to the first, and watched as the brushwood in front of their vehicle began to sway dramatically. Hoping to scare away the creature, or to catch a better glimpse of it, Randy Needham immediately started his car and turned on the headlights. Within seconds, the creature exited from the brushwood and began rushing towards their vehicle. The couple would later describe the creature as having been a large bipedal ape-like creature that they would claim looked like an oversized gorilla. It walked on two legs and was estimated from a sitting position to have stood around 8 feet tall with matted white hair, with spots of mud covering different sections of its body. As the creature walked closer to the vehicle, the couple claimed they could smell the scent of a foul, skunk-like odor. Fearing for their lives, Randy Needham immediately reversed his vehicle and drove out of the area, claiming that they narrowly escaped the monster that appeared to have been trying to reach their vehicle. Once the couple made it back into the downtown area of Murphysboro, Illinois, they entered into a heated debate on whether or not they should report the sighting to the local police. Judy Johnson at first refused to file a witness report, believing that it would lead to issues with her father, but was convinced by Randy Needham, who believed that the monster would soon attack other eyewitnesses. It would be at around 2 a.m. that the couple would decide to drive down to the Murphysboro police station and report their sighting. Once Randy Needham and Judy Johnson arrived at the police station together, the couple immediately began filing a report with the former patrolman of the Murphysboro police force, a man by the name of Ron Manwaring, who worked as a police chief for over several decades. According to Officer Ron Manwaring, the sighting had been described as an unknown creature sighting, with the beast having been compared to an oversized gorilla estimated to have been around 8 feet tall, with matted white hair that was streaked with mud. Although the officers were hesitant to believe the claims of the 2 young adults, they began to grow increasingly interested when they discovered that the couple was scared of both public ridicule and Judy's father finding out about their indiscretions. Additional reports of the Murphysboro mud monster would be made by several police officers who were tasked with investigating the original sightings report of Randy Needham and Judy Johnson. Believing that Randy Needham and Judy Johnson were not playing a prank and had nothing to gain from the witness claims, the Murphysboro Police Department would send 2 officers to investigate the claims further. The 2 responding officers, Merrill Lindsay and Jimmy Nash, were sent to the location of the sighting within minutes and arrived at the area of the supposed boat ramp in Riverside Park. Within a few minutes of investigating, Officer Jimmy Nash found a set of peculiar tracks that he described as being approximately 10 to 12 inches long and roughly 3 inches wide, following in a long line down the riverbank side pressed deep into the mud. Before Officer Nash could investigate the tracks further, he would then report that he and his partner heard what they would later detail was a screech emanating from close by. Believing that the creature was hiding in some nearby brush, waiting to attack, Officer Nash attempted to pull out his pistol, but dropped it in a panic and ran back to his police cruiser and left the scene of the sighting. When questioned about the sound, Nash claimed that the sound was the most hideous sound he had ever heard and had originated at an estimated distance of about 300 feet away from them. He said that it was the most incredible shriek he's ever heard. Officer Jimmy Nash and Officer Merrill Lindsay would return to the Murphysboro police station, hoping to gather additional officers for backup before returning to the site. It would be at around this time that the officers would report the screech and their encounter with the unknown creature, sparking serious interest from the local law enforcement. At around 2 a.m. on the 26th of June, Officers Jimmy Nash and Merrill Lindsay would return to the area of their encounter, alongside Officer Bob Scott and the original eyewitness, Randy Needham. The 4 would soon discover several more tracks located near the muddy banks of the river, with impressions that appeared to originate from within the water and exit back into the water. Officer Merrill Lindsay would return to her patrol car to retrieve a camera for documenting the evidence, and the 3 others would stay in the area of the sighting, following the tracks down the riverbank. It was at around this time that the 3 men claimed to hear splashing in the river that sounded like a large creature walking in knee-deep water. Although they were unable to see anything in the water, the men would continue their search until they heard the same horrible scream that Officer Nash had reported earlier in the morning. The sudden scream caused the 3 men to run back to a patrol car, where they took the time to regain their composure and once again begin their search for the creature. For the next several hours, the men would claim to hear the same eerie splashing sound they believed to have been the large bipedal creature walking through the water, but would discover nothing. Their search would continue through the early morning until the sun rose. At around 7 in the morning, the group would end their search, believing that the monster had disappeared. The sighting of Christian Barrel. On the 26th of June, roughly 14 hours since the end of the reported sightings of the Murphysboro mud monster from the Murphysboro Police Department, a 5-year-old boy by the name of Christian Barrel would claim to witness a monster with a similar description at around 10:30 in the evening. According to the child's mother, he has been given a glass jar that he could use to catch fireflies with. Seeing a large conglomeration of fireflies alongside the bank of the big muddy river, Christian travelled near the water and saw what he described as a large white shape rise up from behind a fence that separated their property from a neighbour's property. Believing that he saw a ghost, 5-year-old Christian Barrel ran back to his home, dropping the jar, and found his dad, crying to him and telling him what he had seen. Although the dad did not believe that his son had seen anything resembling a ghost, he comforted the child and said that the creature was gone and would not hurt him. Several days later, the father claimed that as he was talking to his neighbour, the neighbour told him about a sighting his family had experienced on the 26th of June of what he believed was a large white ape-like monster walking through his backyard and disappearing into the nearby Big Muddy River. According to the neighbour, his daughter, a young teenager by the name of Cheryl Ray, claimed to have encountered the mysterious creature sometime at around 11 in the evening while she had been sitting on the enclosed front porch with her boyfriend Randy Creeth to talk and look at the stars. According to the young couple, while in the middle of a conversation, they claimed to have heard rustling coming from about 15 feet away from where they were sitting, in a nearby bush. At first, the couple assumed that the rustling was caused by small animals running through the brush, but soon became suspicious when the rustling started to grow louder and continued across multiple bushes. Cheryl Ray and Randy Creeth believed that the sound was most likely being caused by a group of young neighborhood kids who were spying on the young couple as a prank. This theory would cause Cheryl Ray to go inside the home to turn on the outside porch light, while Randy Creeth decided to leave the enclosed porch to confront the kids. As the front outdoor porch light came on, Randy soon witnessed a massive white-furred creature standing an estimated 10 feet away from where he had been standing, causing him to freeze in fear. Cheryl Ray would later say that her and Randy were sitting in their parents' breezeway when they heard something in the woods. They both went down, but Randy was walking a little bit ahead. Then they saw a large, dirty creature with matted fur. Randy Creeth would later draw a silhouette outline of the creature, showing that the monster apparently had a spade-shaped head, similar to the Flatwoods monster. Both witnesses would claim that the creature had glowing red eyes that were similar to the glow of a distant streetlight. Its height was estimated to have been around 7 feet tall, with the creature believed to have weighed more than 350 pounds if compared to a human being. Additionally, the creature's arms were believed to have been elongated, similar to a gorilla's arms. After staring at the creature for a total of 30 seconds, the large humanoid beast turned around and appeared to have walked away into the surrounding bushes and disappeared. Shortly thereafter, Cheryl Ray and Randy Creeth would contact the local Murphysboro Police Department and describe their sighting of the creature. Police officers Jimmy Nash and Ron Manwaring would immediately respond to the call of the creature sighting, believing that the monster was the same creature previously spotted by the Murphysboro Police Department at around the same time on the previous night. Once the two officers arrived on scene, they quickly noticed what they described was a powerful odor that was unlike anything they had previously encountered. When trying to locate the source of the smell, the officers would stumble across a set of large footprints that were similar to the recovered prints seen near the bank of the Big Muddy River. Believing that the footprints were evidence of the creature, 14 additional officers would be sent to investigate the mysterious creature sighting, including an officer by the name of Jerry Nellis, who had been trained as a dog handler with the Carbondale Police Department. According to the official police report, Jerry Nellis brought along his German Shepherd Reb. Official Murphysboro Police Department records describe Reb as one of the most reliable canines on the force, having successfully assisted in past search and rescue missions. As the officers gathered together, armed themselves with rifles, and were filled in on the information surrounding the unknown creature, including the past encounters the monster had had with the Murphysboro Police Department. The team decided to follow the tracks left behind the creature in the hopes of bringing it down. As the officers followed a set of tracks, they discovered what they later described as a foul-smelling black slime that followed the trail from the back porch of the Ray home down into the nearby Big Muddy River. Using the strange slime as a source of scent, Officer Jerry Nellis's dog Reb began to follow the creature's scent, with the officers following closely behind. The officers recalled in their report that the trail appeared to have been littered with broken tree limbs and trampled underbrush that showed the creature was far larger than any known human being. The trail ended near a quarry of rocks and granite stones, where the dog appeared to have trouble relocating the scent. After a minute or so, the dog picked up a new scent that followed a small trail through dense forest and alongside an embankment to the Big Muddy River that led to a small steep-sloped pond. Before long, the dog brought the officers to an abandoned barn located on the old Bullar property, which rested north of the Big Muddy River, east of the Ray home. Once the dog reached the door of the barn, however, it began yelping and trembling and was too scared to move any further. Believing that the monster was in the barn, the officers decided to wait to enter the barn before additional backup arrived. It is at this point that the official police record surrounding the incident becomes muddled and inconsistent. Some officers claim that after additional backup arrived from neighboring police departments, totaling about a dozen patrol cars, the monster had broken out of the barn through a back wall and disappeared into the nearby river. Other reports claim that the officers entered the barn and discovered no evidence of the creature, but recovered more samples of the mysterious black slime. Additional reports claim that the officers encountered and neutralized the monster within the barn and had made attempts to cover up the recovery of the creature's body. Regardless of the events, the search for the creature was immediately called off following the searching of the barn, and the officers would return to their patrols and departments. The witness testimony from the officers and future sources of information conflict and often contradict each other when it comes to the recovery of the black slime. In one report, an officer claims that the smell of the slime was so putrid it was immediately covered with dirt and buried. Another report claims that officers gathered up the black slime as evidence of the events, though no evidence of recovered black slime is found in the modern day. An additional report claims that one of the officers tasted the black slime and confirmed that the slime was nothing more than the jelly of native-grown wild berries. Shortly after this encounter, the police chief of the Murphysboro Police Department, a man by the name of Toby Berger, would put out warnings to local newspapers and officers claiming that the encounters or sightings of the creature should be toned down or possibly censored to prevent the development of mass hysteria, as the police chief claimed he was worried that one of the residents could become trigger-happy and accidentally hurt another resident of their small town. Despite these attempts at censorship, stories of the encounters would spread across the town of Murphysboro, leading to the formation of small armed posses that would go hunting for the creature. Murphysboro Mud Monster Carnival Encounters. 10 days following the encounter with the Ray house, eyewitnesses would claim to see a large bipedal humanoid creature standing outside the traveling circus that had temporarily set up business alongside the Big Muddy River, located a few hundred yards from a sewer treatment plant. According to the report, at around 2 a.m. on the 7th of July, Carnival workers Otis Norris, Ray Adkisson and Wesley Lavender were sitting in the back of one of the Carnival trucks, going over the day's receipts, when they claimed to have heard their Shetland ponies shrieking from nearby. Believing that a prankster was trying to spook their horses, the carnies jumped out of the truck and travelled to the nearby brambles where the ponies had been tied to. It was at this moment that the ponies came within sight of the 3 men and appeared to have been displaying bizarre characteristics that were unlike their typical behaviours. The Shetland ponies, which had been trained to be docile and allow small children to ride them and prod them all day, had become wild with terror. The animals were seen kicking and tugging their ropes and shaking their heads furiously in an attempt to get away from where they were left standing. Although the men were originally confused as to what could have spooked the animals, it soon became apparent what the culprit was as they turned and spotted the bizarre creature a few dozen yards away. According to the men, the creature appeared to have been around 8 feet tall and at a size estimated to have been possibly 400 pounds in weight. Its face held no distinguishable features and appeared to have been hiding beneath a layer of fur. As far as the men could deduce, the large humanoid ape-like beast seemed to have been watching the ponies from a distance in a calm and entertained manner. Terrified of what they were seeing, the men ran from the area and gathered a group of men together for help. As they ran off, the creature was believed to have run away in the opposite direction towards the big muddy river. After an estimated 50 minutes had passed, a carnival worker by the name of Charles Kimball decided to join the three men and return to the site of where the creature had last been seen. Once he arrived at the location, he claims to have seen the large bipedal humanoid ape-like monster standing off in the distance, staring at the ponies with its head cocked to the side, similar to a dog's head when it hears a new sound. He would later describe the pose of the mud monster as appearing to have been an unthreatening, deeply curious pose. When Charles Kimball called out to the monster, it darted away once more towards the direction of the big muddy river. The Murphysboro Mud Monster Hunt. On the 8th of July back in 1973, a day following the reported Carnival incident, a crowd of local residents of Murphysboro, Illinois, decided to come together to form an armed hunting party in the hopes of finding and eliminating the Murphysboro Mud Monster. According to news reports surrounding the incident, the group of locals, a mixture of several adult hunters and several dozen teenagers, gathered together in Riverside Park. At the time of the rumors and witness sightings, it was believed that Riverside Park was a hotspot for the monster, as unsubstantiated claims of encounters had clustered around the area. Several groups of teenagers would claim to have seen the creature on separate isolated expeditions into the surrounding area, though it was believed that their claims were made in a half-joking manner. Although hunting parties were not new to Murphysboro, the police chief Toby Berger became concerned that the overzealous and easily frightened hunting party, mixed with the many littered empty alcoholic beverages, were doomed to eventually fatally injure one of their own members. Fearing for the safety of the residents, Berger would eventually call a town meeting and come to the decision that it would be best for this fascination surrounding the monster to run its course in a professional way. Rather than risk the safety of the public, Berger would ask the fathers of the town to stay home and keep their teenagers out of trouble looking for the creature while the town conducts an official private investigation into the matter. Several small reports of groups of teenagers engaged in small hunting parties would persist for several months, but none so large as the original hunting party gathering on the 8th of July. Harkin-Sorkin official investigation. After a series of witness sightings of the Murphysboro mud monster surrounding the area of Riverside Park and the shores of the Big Muddy, later supported by the Murphysboro Police Department, who would record sightings of their own, local residents would begin to arm themselves and form hunting parties with the intention of locating the Murphysboro mud monster and eliminating the creature from the region. Scared that these hunting parties would eventually lead to incidents of friendly fire and injury, the Murphysboro police chief at the time, a man by the name of Toby Berger, would instruct the local residents of the town to no longer engage in such activities, and that the town would conduct an official private investigation into the beast to help ease fears and protect the public. Eventually, Toby Berger and several other consultants on the matter would hire a man by the name of Harkin-Sorkin, a gentleman who worked as an insurance agent for his primary occupation, but was a self-described expert on the Sasquatch phenomenon. After hearing about the series of serious reported cases of the Murphysboro mud monster, Harkin-Sorkin would journey from his home city of St. Louis, Missouri, and travel to Murphysboro, Illinois, with a team of about 5 men, including a lawyer and several reporters from the popular Missouri newspaper, Kansas City Star. Sorkin's official expedition for the monster would begin in the fall of 1973, roughly a month following the last major recorded sighting of the creature. It was during this time that Sorkin would make several claims that were impossible to substantiate, but accepted by the town nonetheless, including an anonymous offer by a private collector that claimed Sorkin and his team would receive $2.5 million if they could capture the creature alive and send it to a private, undisclosed location. Believing the claim to be real, Sorkin and his team equipped themselves with non-lethal weapons, including stun pistols and rubber bullets focused on incapacitating the animal for capture. Additionally, several boxes of bananas and chocolates were purchased and brought along for the expedition to peacefully lure the creature into capture. Despite the non-lethal measures and the food, Sorkin was fearful that the beast could explode into anger, similar to other reported sightings and attacks of Bigfoot creatures elsewhere in the United States, and so decided to bring along several loaded firearms in the event that the monster decided to attack his party. Although it is uncertain exactly how Sorkin attempted to capture the creature, he would provide a statement to the Kansas City Star that a local zoo had been on standby during their expeditions and were able to fly in a large cage in the event of the creature's capture. During several of their expeditions, Sorkin and his team reportedly heard what they described as a very loud yell or guttural sound, between a roar and a bellow, and took pictures of tracks that appeared to have been human-like footprints, with an enlarged big toe and an elongated heel. Other than these sightings and claims, no direct evidence of the creature was recovered, and the expedition appeared to lose its fervor rather quickly. Although the recovery of the monster was met with very little success, the town felt that the primary purpose of the expedition was entirely successful. Shortly after the expedition ended, several local newspapers such as the Southern Illinoisan and the Kansas City Star would report about the events and witness sightings from the Murphysboro townsfolk. The story was so compelling and considered substantial evidence of a Sasquatch-like creature roaming the American countryside that the story would eventually be picked up by the New York Times. The sudden popularity in the town, coupled with the momentary fame of the eyewitnesses, would lead to the Murphysboro mud monster legends, becoming a solidified piece of history for the town, and would lead to the end of the hunting parties for the creature, as the residents considered the monster to be a symbolic mascot to be adored. Last sighting of Murphysboro mud monster. The last recorded official police report sighting of the Murphysboro mud monster was recorded back on the 7th of July, 1975, when two men claimed to have encountered the bizarre monster while they had been traveling through the Harrison community. According to the two men, who were native residents of Murphysboro, they had been traveling north of Murphysboro and had passed by the Harrison Pond when they saw a large white humanoid creature exit from the pond and watch them from a distance. Unsure of what they were looking at, the men continued moving away from the pond until they saw the creature dive back down into the water and disappear. Honey Island Swamp Monster Connection. The Honey Island Swamp Monster is typically described by eyewitnesses as standing at a height of roughly 7.5 feet and weighing more than 500 pounds. The creature is reported as being covered in a thick coat of matted brown or grey hair that covers the creature from head to toe. In some isolated sightings, the fur of the creature was also wrapped in a large mound of pondweed. The eyes of the creature are often described as being yellow in colour and appearing almost lizard-like in their design. One of the more noticeable traits of the creature also includes its emitting odour, which has been referred to by eyewitnesses as terrible. The creature has also been reported under several different names, such as the Honey Island Ape, the Honey Island Sasquatch, the Louisiana Wookiee, and the Swamp Monster of Louisiana. The first reported sighting of the Honey Island Swamp Monster was recorded by two individual eyewitnesses by the name of Harlan Ford and Billy Mills. According to the two men, Harlan Ford had been flying above the region of the Honey Island Swamp in a private plane when he claimed to have spotted what he believed to have been an abandoned cabin somewhere deep within the swamp marshlands. Curious as to what was in the cabin, Harlan Ford would call up his close friend Billy Mills with the plan to go on a small adventure and investigate the abandoned structure during their free time. Several days later, sometime during the summer of 1963, the two men would journey to the Honey Island Swamp and attempt to locate using the aviation charts from Harlan Ford where the abandoned structure was located. As they neared the clearing of the structure, they realized that the cabin appeared to have been a handmade structure from nearby trees and materials, as if someone had been illegally living within the region for several months. As they moved closer to the cabin, one of the men would soon spot something in the distance, getting the attention of their friend to also look in the general direction of what they had seen. Located near the edge of the opposite side of the clearing was a creature that the men described as being a 7.5-foot tall, hairy bipedal humanoid creature. The creature would stand almost entirely motionless for several moments, maintaining eye contact with the two men before suddenly quickly moving and escaping into the nearby underbrush. Fearing that they had stumbled upon the home of the strange swamp monster creature, the two men quickly left the region and decided never to return to the bizarre structure. Harlan Ford would later provide a quote surrounding the incident, claiming that the creature was nothing like he had ever seen before. Ugly and sinister, and looking like something out of a horror movie. Over 10 years would pass before the two men would decide to journey back to the Honey Island swamp to get some closure on the incident. According to the report, it would be in 1974 that Harlan Ford and Billy Mills would return to the swamp for a small duck hunting trip. Although the two men had hoped for a normal hunting trip, they would soon realize that their return trip would be anything but normal. Shortly within journeying into the swampland, the two men would find several boars throughout the area along the edges of the marshlands. At first, the men thought that the wild boars had been taken from nearby alligators in the water, but soon realized that the animals were way too far from nearby waterways to have been taken by alligators. After a few more hours, their suspicions that the creature they had once encountered roughly 11 years ago, having been responsible for the passings of the wild boars, would soon be confirmed. Near the boars, the men would find several massive footprints that ended in 3 large webbed toes and were unlike the footprints of any known creature. In fear that the monster was close by, Harlan Ford and Billy Mills would quickly leave the swamp. Later that night, their curiosity would overpower them, and they would return to the site to make several casts of the footprints for possible study or reference at a later time. Given the close similarities between the environment of the Murphysboro mud monster and the Honey Island swamp monster, cryptid theorists believe that the creatures responsible are of the same species, though may have bifurcated in their development sometime in the distant past. Dewy Lake Monster Connection. The Dewy Lake Monster is claimed to be a humanoid bipedal creature standing at an approximate height of 9 feet tall, covered from head to toe in thick hair. Witness sightings differ in some regard on the texture and color of the hair, given the many different lighting conditions in which witnesses encountered the creature. In some cases, the creature's hair is red and matches closely with brownish bark, and appears to have a texture that matches the trunk of a tree, with many witnesses mistaking the creature to have been a standing tree. Some claim that the creature has no visible face, or has a visible black face with reflective eyes and sharp teeth that become visible only when the mouth opens. Witnesses consistently report the smell of a strong odor or skunk-like stench that accompanies the creature. The Dewy Lake Monster has made several indistinguishable non-human sounds, such as a deeper yelling tone, impossible for a human to replicate. Barking noises, ear-splitting honking sounds, and piercing screams that have caused ear damage and could be heard over tremendous distances. Some of the encounters have been compared to the sound of a wild goose or a large dog, whereas other encounters claim the sounds to have been impossible to describe or identify. The Dewy Lake Monster has demonstrated multiple forms of adapted locomotion. One such ability is the proficiency to swim and dive with expert quality, with the creature capable of staying underwater for tremendously longer periods of time than is possible for humans or other known creatures. The Dewy Lake Monster has also been reported to be able to run on all 4 limbs at speeds that top 30 miles per hour and has demonstrated violent tendencies against vehicles and individuals. The oldest recorded encounter with the creature was recorded back during the summer of 1962, around a similar time of month that the Murphysboro mud monster would make a series of sightings. On the 1st of June, back in 1962, 4 lads were playing around Suntan Hill, located nearby Dewy Lake Street in Dowagiac, Michigan. The boys, Jimmy Andre, Jeff Hall, Gary Lee, and Al Johnson, were familiar with playing off by themselves in wooded areas and had made a game of their adventures called Playing Army. While near Suntan Hill, the children would run around, pretending to fight each other with large sticks and engage in pretend battle for several hours. Estimated to have been sometime around 4:23 in the afternoon, the 4 children decided to take a break and eat their pre-prepared lunch that consisted of packed sandwiches left in Gary Lee's Boy Scout backpack located at the bottom of the hill. The children began to race down the hill, with the 4 of them splintering off into 2 groups of 2, with Gary Lee and Al Johnson forming the first group and Jimmy Andrew and Jeff Hall forming the second group. Taking 2 separate paths, Gary Lee and Al Johnson would reach the bottom of the hill first and would spend a considerable amount of time waiting for Jimmy Andrew and Jeff Hall to arrive. After about 10 to 15 minutes, the second group of boys would arrive suffering from an intense form of hysteria brought on by fear. According to the 2 boys, they took a separate, longer path down to the bottom of Suntan Hill that passed through a patch of wild raspberries. While they were passing through the patch, they began racing each other in a small competition to see who could eat the most wild raspberries in the shortest amount of time, pushing and pulling each other and snatching the raspberries out of each other's hands. Suddenly, Jimmy had frozen in place while staring off into the distance and appeared to have had a scared or grimacing look on his face as he was frozen. Jeff turned and stared at Jimmy for a while, believing that his friend was playing a strange prank on him or trying to scare him, and tried to figure out what he was doing. Without turning to see what Jimmy had been looking at, Jeff began making mocking faces at Jimmy, mimicking the scared, wild-eyed emotions of the boy before running up to him and pushing him until he fell over. Jeff would later recount that immediately before Jimmy had been frozen in shock, a large gust of wind appeared to have blown in, causing fur and weeds to fly around. Once Jimmy was on the ground, the wind continued to grow in force, flying Jeff's hat off of his head and landing a distance away in the nearby grass. As Jeff ran to chase his hat, he noticed what Jimmy had been staring at and fell to the ground in fear. According to Jeff, the object was a bipedal creature of immense height. The creature was covered from head to toe in red hair and looked like a giant tree or totem pole. Terrified of the creature, Jeff claimed that he began to bark like a rabid dog to scare away the creature, unsure if it was a large unknown animal that would have been frightened by sharp noises. Realizing that the creature was not reacting to his barking, Jeff and Jimmy got up and started to run away from the creature. Once they were an estimated 20 yards away, they turned back around and watched the creature from afar. As they stared at the creature, the monster let out a deafening roar that sounded like the deep, throaty scream of a wild man. The kids then ran and met up with Gary Lee and Al Johnson. Testimony later provided by Jimmy's uncle would claim that the event had split the boys up in angry fury, with the children never going out again or hanging out with each other. Skunk-ape connection. Similar to the Murphysboro mud monster, another recorded creature known as the skunk ape of Louisiana appears to make similar timed appearances. Descriptions of the skunk ape often overlap with typical sightings of Sasquatch-like creatures. It is commonly accepted within the cryptozoological community that the skunk ape is a Bigfoot-type creature, and so the reports of the creature are often lumped together with general Bigfoot reports made around the United States. The average sightings of the skunk ape, however, are typically only reported around Florida and Louisiana and add the atypical description that the creature is different from average Bigfoot sightings due to its putrid smell and dwells within swamps. The descriptions of the creature's odor are often conflicting, with many eyewitness reports claiming that the smell is impossible to compare to any other known smell. Some witnesses have claimed that the smell of the creature was similar to a swampy fish smell, with a mixture of rotten fish and eggs. An even smaller minority of witnesses have claimed that the creature gives off a somewhat chemical smell, comparing it to hydrogen sulfide, methane, or swamp gas. An even smaller group of testimonies have claimed that the creature suffers from an odor that is more akin to a wet dog smell. More commonly, however, the odor of the creature is reportedly exactly similar to that of a skunk, which is where the creature derives its name. The physical descriptions of the creature are far more consistent, with claims that the skunk ape is humanoid in shape but without any form of defined neck, leaving its head resting flat on its shoulders. The creature has a human-like face, fur covering its body except for its face and palms, has well-defined muscles despite the covering of the fur, and appears to have a hump on its back that may or may not extend beyond the top of the creature's head. Its eyes have never been reported as having glown, and it has never engaged in a violent interaction with any of the eyewitnesses that have encountered the creature. Researchers claim that the oldest known sighting of a creature fitting the description of the skunk ape took place in the early 1800s. According to the reports, a group of sailors landed north of the Gulf of Mexico in an area theorized to be the modern-day Apalachicola, a city located on the Bay of Franklin County within the state of Florida. As they had pulled into the bay, they claimed to have spotted a creature covered in hair from head to toe and appeared similar to a 5-foot-tall baboon. The specific encounter was recorded back in 1818, but sightings of baboons the size of men would continue to be reported throughout the area until the mid-1800s. Researchers have often quoted that two prominent early Native American tribes that had once resided around the modern-day areas of Florida and Louisiana feature reported encounters with the skunk ape within their local mythologies that directly match with descriptions commonly associated with the skunk ape creature. This claim is only partly true. One of the local Native American tribes, the Miccosukee, features stories of a swamp-like creature referred to as the Shawanoki. Some researchers have incorrectly translated this to mean a mysterious swamp-dwelling creature, and so have made the connection that the creature must be referred to the skunk ape, of which is commonly reported in areas of swamps. The truth is that Shawanoki directly translates to snapping mouth and was more commonly used to refer to hidden alligators or snapping turtles local to the area. The other prominent Native American tribe does indeed feature a story that directly matches with reports and encounters with the skunk ape. Referred to by the Seminoles tribe as the Esti Kapkaki, of which directly translates to the tall man, the creature is a reportedly humanoid supernatural being that is often regarded as the protector of the surrounding woods and swamplands. If one was to find themselves chasing the creature, before long, they would witness the animal vanish from sight, as if disappearing in the fog. Other titles for the creature were known as the Sand People, the Mangrove People, and the People Eaters. Bigfoot is described as a shy and elusive creature that is adept at avoiding human contact and evading detection. Sightings of Bigfoot are often fleeting and unexpected, leaving little time for observers to capture clear evidence or documentation of the creature's existence. The elusive nature of Bigfoot makes it difficult for researchers to study and document the creature, contributing to its status as a mystery.